San Diego is known for a ton of great things, such as its perfect weather, gorgeous beaches, and laid-back lifestyle. Sounds like a dream, right? But what if I told you that living here might not be all it's cracked up to be? Before you make the move, let me share 6 reasons why San Diego County might not be what you're hoping for, whether you're moving here for work, a change of scenery, or just new lifestyle. It's important to know what you're really getting into. San Diego has a lot to offer, but today we're going to share some of the challenges that come with living here. Let's get into it. By the way, my name is Nick, and you guys are reaching out all the time, and we love helping you guys out. So if you're thinking about making a move in or around San Diego, just shoot us a text, shoot us an email, or just straight up give us a call so we can help you save a ton of time and help you with your real estate goals right here in San Diego. Now, I want to make this extremely clear that I'm not here to talk smack on San Diego. This is a place that I've literally grown up and lived my entire life, and I love it dearly. But if you are relocating here from another part of the country or world, there's definitely some things you need to know that are just not so great or might not be the right fit for you. So let's just get the first one out of the way and dive into the first one, which is going to be cost of living. Now, San Diego is one of the highest cost of livings in the entire nation, and I always see San Diego make it on these lists for the top 5 most expensive places to live in the nation. It just always makes these lists year after year, so it's something you really need to know what you're getting into before you make that move, and you get here and you go, oh my gosh, this is actually really expensive. And it's not just with expenses like housing and rents, it's with everyday expenses like gas, groceries, and even utilities being well above the national average. But of course, your highest expense is going to be the housing prices and the rents here in San Diego. And we all have a goal of owning a home or owning multiple homes. But here in San Diego, the median home price is right at about $1 million. That is very expensive, one of the highest, again, in the entire United States. And if you want to go rent a small apartment, you can expect to pay upwards of $3,000 a month. And not only is it expensive here to buy a home, it is also highly competitive with very limited inventory. Even this year, or I should say 2024, we sat on average with about 4,000 homes for sale at any given time. And I want to put that into perspective for you because we have about 3.3 million people living here in San Diego, and there is only 4,000 homes for sale at any given time. The math just doesn't add up on that. So bidding wars can be common, and even a lot of fixer-uppers here in San Diego can be out of reach for a lot of people. And if you do plan on owning a home, make sure you understand that there are other maintenance costs as well, and property taxes. Property taxes here in San Diego County are usually right at about 1.2% of whatever that home price is. So if you buy $1 million house, you're going to be paying right around $12,000 a year in property tax. Number 2, traffic and congestion. Now, San Diego does have a growing population, which definitely has an impact on traffic congestion. And as a person that drives a ton, I do everything I can to avoid major highways anytime during those peak rush hour times. So anytime from about 7 to 9 a.m. in the morning, and from about 3:30 on to about 5:36, I will do a lot just to make sure I'm not driving, because those 20-minute commutes can literally turn into a 50-minute commute very, very easily. And if you're having to do this daily or even a few times a week, it can get extremely frustrating. And you know, this really does happen on some of those major highways like Interstate 15, you're gonna have the I-5, Highway 78, and especially when you get down to more of the denser parts of San Diego, in downtown San Diego, it is going to be a lot more congested during those rush hour times. And San Diego is a sprawling city. When I say it's a big place, San Diego County is huge. So it's very car centric. I always recommend for you to have at least one car in your household, because you probably are going to be commuting or driving pretty often, whether it's shopping plazas or, you know, to the doctor's office to drop the kids off at school. You're gonna wanna have a car, unless you live in some of the more urban centers like North Park, downtown San Diego, or Little Italy. Then you probably won't need a car, but even there, I'm definitely gonna recommend that you have some way of commuting. So definitely understand that traffic is getting a little bit worse as the years go on, because we do still have a growing population. Number 3, tourism overload. Now, this one is extremely important because San Diego does have about 35 million tourists visit here annually. And this is a year-round thing because our weather is so good here. But especially in the summertime, you need to understand this because it can get extremely frustrating here living here, especially being a local, if you live on the coast, this is where you're going to see the most tourism or people visiting, because let's face it, it's beautiful over here. And why would you not come here? It's insane. But you need to understand that wait times for just about everything can be a lot more frustrating, especially when it comes to parking at some of these beaches. It's going to take you longer to get there and commute to get there because there's a lot more people on the road, but B, parking can be extremely insane too. There's so many people looking for parking and there's just not enough parking spaces. Even when it comes to attractions or just grocery shopping or going retail shopping, even restaurants, the wait times are going to be a lot longer. So make sure you're making a reservation during this time of year. And it's not so much year round, it's more so during those summer months. Anytime from about May to end of August, this is when it gets a lot more crowded. There's a little bit more frustration with wait times and parking and all that stuff. But I'm telling you, as a local, and right after September, I'd say September 1st, when all the kiddos go back to school, parents seem to go back to work, it is a local summer here. The weather is even better, and you can find parking at the beach and go to the restaurants and grab a bite to lunch and do this all way faster. If you guys are getting any value from this video, it would mean the world to us if you go down there and hit that like button. And of course, if you have any questions on San Diego or thinking about moving here, we would love to be your real estate resource of choice. All of our information is down below. Next up is homelessness. Now, this is a big topic for a lot of people out there, and it is an important one. But I want to give it to you straight as a person that lives here day to day. I want to give you a very realistic expectation of it. Now, while the city and the county has done some really great things to address homelessness, it definitely still can be around depending on where you live. Is it something you're going to see daily? Probably not. Is it something you might see weekly? Or if you go to downtown San Diego or some of the coastal areas, yeah, it's something you might see. It's not where there's tents up everywhere and there's all these tent cities. It's really not like that at all. As you get to downtown San Diego, this is where you're more so going to see tents and things like that. But overall, a lot of these areas here in San Diego, you're never going to see it. In fact, I've even had clients, well, I've had many clients come to town and literally go, Nick, there's no tents, there's no homelessness here. Like where I live in Denver, there's a lot more of that stuff going on. So, it depends on where you're coming from for the most part, but I always recommend, not just reading the news, coming out here, spending time in these neighborhoods. That's where you're really going to get a feel for it and go, you know what, this isn't bad at all. Number 5 is wildfires and natural disasters. Now, you do need to know that wildfires can have a real risk here, especially during those dry seasons. It can really affect residents, especially in some of these suburban and rural areas. That's where it's going to happen the most, but it's not everywhere, as there are a lot of neighborhoods that are dense and close to the water. Pacific Beach, La Jolla, Point Loma, Carlsbad, Encinitas. These are not super fire prone at all. And by no means is San Diego flat or deserty. A lot of the homes here were built in canyons or around some very lush trees, especially in areas like Fallbrook, Escondido, Poway, Ramona. These areas are where wildfires can be much more of a risk because it can be a lot more dry in these areas. And you need to know that San Diego and a lot of the cities here do have something called a defensible space measure, which really makes sure that you are annually taking care of tree maintenance and just keeping those fire hazards down. So while having, a 20 or 30-year-old eucalyptus tree in your backyard is amazing, maintaining it might not be so fun. Also, earthquakes may be a concern here in San Diego as well because it is an active seismic zone. And has anything bad happened in 5-10 years or even my entire life living here? No, nothing crazy, but definitely the Inland Empire, which is a few hours northeast of us, that seems to be a more of an active seismic zone. So sometimes we feel the earth shake when there's earthquakes over there. But you do need to know that we get something called a natural hazard report done when you are potentially buying a home. So we will go over all this stuff and you'll know what hazards are prone for that specific property, what needs to be done, or if you want to cancel and walk away, totally up to you. Next up is the lack of affordability for families. Now, this one is really important because sometimes families can really struggle to pay for a lot of the things like childcare, schooling, and other extracurricular activities. And while San Diego is extremely strong when it comes to jobs, especially in biotech, in healthcare, military, tourism, opportunities in other industries can be very scarce And honestly, sometimes the salaries don't match the high cost of living, which makes it very hard for newcomers to sustain a very comfortable life here. And especially when it comes to these schools, whether you want your kids to go to private schools, it's going to cost a bit more, or just if you want to get into one of these very good school districts here in San Diego, which we have many, you know, I see a lot of families that are really sacrificing the perks of a certain lifestyle just to afford living in a certain area with good schools. Those are some of the biggest concerns people may have when they're moving to San Diego County. And of course, San Diego has some amazing perks, but it's important to know this stuff before you make a potentially life-changing move. And I'm sure this video sparked a ton of questions. So if you have any questions at all, we would love to be your real estate resource of choice. All of our information is right there down below. Feel free to hit us up. And we have a couple other videos right here that might be extremely helpful as well. I'll see you there.